You all know where Alaska is and what this American state is in general terms. But did you know that it's the most mysterious state of America? And one of the most unusual places on Earth, where people and planes often disappear, where there's strange monsters, and where giants and unusual dinosaurs used to live? Today you'll learn everything in detail. In this episode, I'll tell you what's happening in Alaska right now, and what unusual and unexplained finds were recently discovered there. Triangle. Everyone knows about the notorious Bermuda Triangle, which is located in the Atlantic Ocean. Many people have also heard about the Japanese Devil's Triangle, which is also a big mystery. But not many people know that Alaska can also boast of its triangle. Its borders are marked by the cities of Juneau, Anchorage, and Barrow. The latter is also known as Utqiagvik. The Alaskan Triangle, in its essence, is similar to the Bermuda Triangle. Here occur unexplained and unusual oddities, and people and transport vehicles go missing. As for strange disappearances, the most famous one occurred in July 1951 when a Douglas DC-4 plane went missing in the area. 90 minutes after the plane took off from its intermediate stop in Anchorage, it was flying on schedule but soon hit bad weather. The crew reported that it was raining heavily, it was cold, and visibility was severely limited. Sometime after sending the message, the plane disappeared without a trace. Despite a long search, no wreckage of the plane, no passengers or anything else was found. The crash is still one of the most mysterious in U.S. history. A few years later, a similar situation took place. A private plane with 4 passengers on board went missing in the Alaska Triangle. It, too, was not found. These 2 crashes could be explained by coincidence, the harsh climate and the snowy, desolate nature of Alaska, which makes it difficult to find broken equipment here. That's all true, but it's no coincidence. The disappearances continue to this day. They occur even now. Statistics show that more than 16,000 people have gone missing in the Alaska Triangle in all that time, and no one has been found. According to local Aborigines, an evil mythical creature, Kushtaka, an otter man who kidnaps people, is to blame for the disappearances. In general, locals believe that the Alaska Triangle is a place of evil spirits who kidnap people and steal equipment that disturb their peace. Scientists believe that geopathic stress zones, energy vortices, and extreme electromagnetic radiation are to blame. There's another version, according to which the military engaged in secret projects in Alaska are responsible for the loss of people and planes. One way or another, it's still unknown exactly what's happening in the Alaska Triangle and what's the reason for the strange disappearances. Monster. Alaska is a remote region, which means it's the perfect place for unknown and unexplored creatures to live. One of them may be living in Alaska right now, because a few years ago it was caught on camera. A resident of the American state named Craig McKay caught on camera a mysterious 5-meter-long creature inhabiting the local Chena River. According to the author of the video, he managed to capture the unknown to science river creature, or even the Loch Ness Monster. I only wonder what it was doing in Alaska. Anyway, Craig says he's never seen anything like it. When the author posted the video on the internet, users' opinions were divided. Someone thought the Alaska resident had stumbled upon a giant sturgeon. Someone thought that Craig really captured some most unknown monster. But scientists think that McKay encountered not a living creature, but a piece of rope with large chunks of ice stuck to it. According to scientists, the creature was not moving but was in place, moving under the influence of the current. One way or another, it's still unclear what or who exactly McKay encountered, but in my opinion, the version with a monster or an unknown species should not be discarded. Bigfoot. Bigfoot is probably the most famous mysterious creature in the world, and it's certainly the most famous mysterious creature in North America because it's in this area where it's believed to live. According to legends, Bigfoot lives in the northwestern United States and western Canada. It's been spotted many times in different parts of North America, and Alaska is no exception. According to locals, they've encountered Bigfoot many times over the past few years. Many locals have come across huge paw marks left in the dirt or on the ground. They have even been able to capture them on camera. Judging by the video clips, these are not bear tracks. They're too huge and not very similar to bear ones. Some locals managed to record Bigfoot's roar, and some even managed to catch it on camera. It's not known whether it was really Bigfoot, and if so, whether it lives alone in Alaska. But in any case, I think the existence of Bigfoot is quite possible, and it's not excluded that it lives in the remote state. As it turns out, in Alaska you can find not only traces of huge Bigfoot, but also the remains of real giants. people whose skulls were 3 times larger than ours. Stay tuned for more details, as well as to an unusual dinosaur and the skull of a legendary bear found in Alaska just recently. Giants. Skeletons of giant people are found in different parts of the world every now and then. Snowy and remote Alaska is no exception. However, they almost never talk about Alaskan giants. Meanwhile, in the last century, an entire cemetery of giants was found. Skull of one of them was 58 centimeters long and 30 centimeters wide. This is about 3 times larger than the skull of an ordinary man. Ancient Alaskan giants were revealed to have a double row of teeth. In addition, each skull was put through the process of trepanation and was slightly elongated. The same practice of stretching the skull was practiced by the ancient peoples of South America. For example, similar skulls were found in Peru, and they look more like the skulls of aliens. Do these giant finds mean that the ancient Alaskan natives were giants? Or at least that they were culturally related to the peoples of South America? This is an interesting question, but it's possible that we'll never know the answer. The Alaskan remains were taken by scientists at the Smithsonian Institution. Apparently, they're not going to announce them to the world. Could the scientists be hiding something? Dinosaur. In 2015, a dinosaur was discovered in Alaska. Fortunately or unfortunately, it was not a living dinosaur. In the northern part of the state, American scientists discovered the remains of a so-called duck-billed dinosaur. Scientists point out that the formation was located on the Arctic coast. This means that the animal lived so far to the north, where 69 million years ago the land existed. The dinosaur was a herbivorous giant lizard more than 9 meters tall, with an unusual shape of the muzzle, reminiscent of a duck's beak. The animal also had hundreds of teeth. Today, its closest relative is probably the platypus. This unusual find is interesting because the dinosaur lived in one of the harshest places on the planet, hundreds of kilometers from the nearest presumed home of the ancient lizards. Thus, this discovery of archaeologists may indicate that some species could live for a long time in a colder environment than previously assumed. The skull of the legend. In 2014, archaeologists discovered in Alaska the skull of the legendary weasel bear. It's legendary because it's associated with tales of a special species of polar bears known to Inuit. The huge and completely intact polar bear skull has become one of the largest bear skulls ever found. It's quite different from most modern polar bear skulls. The weasel bear skull is thin, elongated at the back, and has unusual structural features around the nose area and other areas. Through radiocarbon and subsequent analyses, scientists were able to determine that the skull belonged to an individual which lived between 670 and 800 years ago. It may be the oldest polar bear skull ever found in Alaska. The find is of interest to both scientists and Alaska natives. For scientists, it may suggest that in ancient times there were very large polar bears in Alaska. By confirming the conjectures, scientists will be able to recreate the picture, understand exactly how polar bears evolved, and find out if there are still such giants on the planet. And the locals got the real confirmation of their tales. The mythological creature turned out to be quite real. Beads. Scientists believe that Columbus was not the first European to set foot on American soil. According to most scholars, it was the Vikings who saw the Americas nearly 500 years before he did. However, now experts have reason to believe that after the Vikings, there may have been other Europeans. Earlier this year, archaeologists found glass beads in 3 different locations near Brook Falls, Alaska. The Inuit had previously lived in these areas. Archaeologists have found beads and jewelry in this region before, but this time the discovery was unique because along with the beads, scientists found several bracelets, rings, and most importantly, a rope made of plant fiber. The rope helped the researchers conduct carbon dating and find out when the artifacts were created. Radiocarbon analysis showed that the objects were created between 1397 and 1488. These beads are believed to have been created in Venice in the 14th century and then sold to the east. They traveled 17,000 kilometers across Eurasia before being ferried by boat across the Bering Strait to what is now Alaska. The unusual find indicates that the history of Alaska and America as a whole can be rewritten, or at least corrected a little. That's all, guys. What else do you think is interesting in Alaska? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching and see you later.